There's a time-honored tradition in roguelikes. If there's a shopkeeper, they'll have something you want. And if there's something you want, you won't have enough money for it. And when you don't have enough money for it, your morals are loose enough to cut and run. But the shopkeep isn't having any of that. In Multiverse, this role is filled by Sylvan, your #1 arms dealer and #1 fan. He's one of the few constants you'll find across most Multiverse runs and can kick your ass at just about every point you meet him. We're going to kill him after one jump. This might take some explanation. For all intents and purposes, fighting Sylvan is aspirational, in the literal sense, where Sylvan sends a 9mm straight down the trachea, but that's under normal circumstances. Mountains are meant to be climbed. So how do we beat Sylvan? The same way you fight any other ship in FTL. Deal with his problems. Beat his boarding crew, hack/murder his weapons, invest in defense scramblers, get your own good weapons, and maybe even have some nice boarders of your own. This doesn't necessarily make the fight easy, but possible instead, and maybe even consistent if you play well and invest your scrap wisely. I'd say this is a reasonable approach, and with it, you'll be able to face Sylvan on a mostly even playing field by Sector 8 or so. But we're not interested in reasonable, are we? The title of this video isn't Sound Investments for Dealing with War Profiteers, so to that end, we're playing unfair. Duplicitously, I'm Extra Shoddy. Welcome to Cheesing FTL Multiverse. To set some ground rules, let's talk about what we have to work with. We have access to our bonus at the start of the run, one free beacon event, and whatever our chosen cruiser starts with. We won't use any boons or see any other events in Sector 1. We cannot make use of anything gifted to us by Sylvan, and the only upgrades we're allowed are what our starting resources can buy. Multiverse has a pretty wide range of unlockable cruisers, ranging from decent to awful to both at the same time. However, there's a handful that are very strong from the get-go. The cruisers, a series of ships headed by unique crewmates, are all quite strong and capitalize on the unique strengths of their captains. But why should we stop at Captain Oban or Captain Knights when we could be Captain Planet? The long-term goal I alluded to at the end of the Ancient Questline video was bringing every unique crewmate to the Paragon and unlocking each and every one of their cruisers. The reward for that laborious task is the Ultimate Cruiser. Wither's Cruiser, also known as the Ancient Polycule or alternatively the True Harem, is unique. It's so unique, it has something in common with almost every other cruiser in the game. In addition to starting with every standard system, including artillery, as well as some fantastic weaponry, Wither's Cruiser hosts every single unique crewmate, including your drones and one bird. We have political dissidents, Walmart CEOs, a robot surgeon, not one, not two, but three, that's right, three retired mecha pilots. Wither's Cruiser is uniquely capable of beating Sylvan from the first jump, but not just because of its loadout. This is one of the only ships that can reach Sylvan from anywhere in a sector. One of its starting augments allows you to teleport to any beacon in a sector at the cost of extra fuel. With this, we can initiate the fight as soon as possible regardless of our sector layout. Now we need to figure out how to survive. Sylvan has everything you need to turn even the most focused game plan into mincemeat. Have a good hacking plan? Ether shields. Have mind control? All slug crew. Good boarding crew of your own? So does he, and he can back it up with his own mind control. Trying to get rid of that shield with good weapons? Try to get past his high-end defense drone, and he has an ether shield. You could go on, but the point is, you're going to have a lot of work to do before you even make a dent in his defenses, and not much time to do it. Let's focus on our game plan and what we need to do to make it work. Sylvan has 6 lasers, staggered to prevent you from dodging all of them with cloaking, and modded with enough secondary effects to keep your systems and crew out of commission. We need to stop that as soon as we can. We don't have enough scrap to get our systems up to par, so we're relying on our excessively stacked crewmates. Our quickest way of doing so with our toolkit is going to be our boarding party. To make this work, we're going to have to use several in quick succession, with the following as our first line of assault. Boarding party number 1 consists of Slocknog, Alcrum, the Technopath, and Tony. Slocknog, the Slug King you typically meet as he's initiating a violent coup, passively heals his surrounding crewmates and can stun enemy crew for quite some time. Next is Alcrum, a leech militant you typically meet while he's also initiating a violent coup. He absorbs stun and doubles the energy drain of other Leech crewmates in the same room. The Technopath, the newest scion of Uj Maju, is, as you expect, an ass man. He passively heals his surrounding crewmates and is all-around reliable. This is Tony, a department store CEO who drains more energy than standard leeches, and unfortunately, is also an ass man. We will not elaborate further on this. This boarding party can sustain themselves in enemy lines for prolonged periods of time, drains 5 power from a system just by standing in the room, and can slowly fight off enemy crew in the process. Our second boarding party consists of Wither and Devorak, both of whom possess perfect teleportation, letting them jump to the enemy ship independently of our teleporter. This is excellent for breaking down stubborn systems, like Sylvan's stacked drone control. Our last boarding party consists of our crystal crewmates in Tyrdio. Between Dianesh, Ruin, and the Pony, you can permanently lock down a room and occupy any crew attempting to enter it, making it easy to slowly but surely break down Sylvan's enormous shields. Tyrdio has the option of completely depowering a system for a short period of time, but prevents you from sabotaging the room while this is active. After stabilizing against Sylvan's offenses, you'll have plenty of time to destroy the rest of his systems with the Glavist beam, possibly the most ridiculous beam weapon available in Multiverse. Before any of this can take place, we need to take out Sylvan's energy shielding, and before we can do that, we need to figure out how to deal with the Defense Drone Mark III. With our current weapons, this is also aspirational. Luckily, our ether beam doesn't miss, doesn't care about defense drones, and deals quite a lot of damage to energy shields. And every now and then our ion gets lucky. We also get some damage from our bomb artillery and our Tully. Once per fight, Tully can call a bomb salvo to deal system damage to random rooms on the enemy ship. All of this combined causes us to take nearly a minute to break the energy shielding and teleport our crew onto the enemy ship. So we need to survive for about a minute. How are we defending ourselves? Wither's cruiser has good defenses, after a few hundred scrap worth of upgrades, but right now we only have 1 layer of shields and base cloaking. That's bad. But like our offensive complement, we can rely on the power of our unique crewmates to keep it moving. Some of our crew start with fully trained skills, letting us boost our evasion with proper crew placement. We have access to 5 skilled crewmates: Sylvan, Tully, the drone's Ass and Ghana, and the Technopath imitating Ass. We only need to prioritize engines, piloting, and weapons, as these result in a 6-second cooldown reduction for our beam and a 20% increase in dodge. We need every point of dodge we can get. We also have access to a number of powered crewmates. The Symbiote and Anorak provide 1 power, while Devorak and the Anointed provide 2 power to systems. This allows us to reliably power most of our systems without issue, and we can place Mayeb into the same room as the Anointed to mitigate any loss of oxygen induced by our Lanius crew. Sylvan supplements his excellent weapons and systems with both boarding crew and drones, and these can do horrible damage if left unchecked. While this is difficult to face even for a full elite crew, just to remind you, Wither's crew count is over 4 times the capacity of a standard cruiser. You're not too worried about enemy boarders. That said, you still need to repair breaches as soon as you can, and your pacifist crewmates, Steven and Anorak, can be vital in that regard. The rest of our 20 to 30 crewmates are on repair or security detail. This might be below their pay grade, but boarding against Sylvan is well above it. Between our 20 starting scrap on standard difficulty and the 10 we can take as a starting bonus, we can afford about 1 upgrade. Mind control on our boarding or power generating crew could be a real problem, so we'll take the lab upgrade, telepathic synergies, and distribute our remaining slug crew next to our manned systems. While we have our own mind control to counteract it, there's no guarantee it'll be in working order in the fight, so we ought to have some insurance. It's worth noting that Alkali can heal crewmates and Tyrell can buff crewmates across the ship about once per minute, but we can save this for when our crewmates are in danger or stuck in rooms. That should be enough prep work. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to the live commentary for the Sylvan 1 Jump run. I'm Extra Shoddy. We are going to try and figure out how exactly I did this. First things first, attack Sylvan. We have our energy shield and so does he. First thing that happens is a bunch of boarders and
I think we get mind controlled. Yes, Uji gets mind controlled. We can counteract that immediately. And most of the crew or rather just even nearby weaponry is going to be more than enough to deal with the 3 boarders that come in at the start of the fight. And the Saboteur that comes in, same room as Ellie. Terrible luck on its part. But good enough. We have enough crew to deal with them now. Not much is going to happen until the first shot, which goes there. And that one's staggered off from the 4 laser volley that comes up next, which we're going to be hitting with the cloaking. And from here we have 95 evade, which isn't like 100%, but more than enough for the purposes of just keeping our ether shield intact. 1 shot went through, that is perfectly fine. So you can see we've had 3 waves of boarders, 1 ranger, 1 saboteur, and 3 standard slugs. Mind control's back up, we're in a good position to deal with it, no systems get damaged. And right now, if you missed it, Plasma, let's do a quick replay. Our first Plasma Ether Tech shot went by, and this is a 1 in a million chance, got past the Mark III, which means that we're going to be able to board so much faster than normally expected. This is happening within about 25 seconds, so we're really just waiting for our Eradicator 3 to load up, deal with the other boarding member that came on. And from here, our ether shields are still intact, so we are not going to take nearly as much damage as we expected going into this. Once this ether beam goes by, that's going to break down the shields, and we'll be able to teleport our first boarding party in right away. So we end up with one of the lasers, actually 2 of them, going out of commission immediately upon the system losing 5 power because of the leeches that are boarding, that being Tony and Anorak. And we're actually going to see that number go down even more just because of the Slug Rangers activating their ion bomb in the room. That's going to cause ion damage to the room occupying it, so they're going to knock out all their weapons temporarily. I did not anticipate this when I was planning out this fight, but it was one of those happy accidents that made our life good. 1 set of lasers got through, took out oxygen for a little bit, but we've actually taken power out of that thanks to them hacking the portable battery, but we're well in position to deal with it. And we sent in our second boarding party, that being Devorak and Wither. Devorak taking a beating. We're going to take him back, and we're going to move Wither to the other side of the ship to keep them occupied moving through it, while our base boarding party keeps the fight going there. I made the decision to put Devorak to fight the boarding drone, forgetting that he was very low health, so we're going to move him to the med bay. We're going to move Decius, who can get through the hacked doors by phasing through them. And we're going to start moving our secondary boarding party in position. We have a small window for them to teleport in before the merchant energy shields regenerate, so we're doing amazing on time. And that stun that Slocknog is going to use on the enemy ship right now is going to take them out of commission very fast. So I'm going to throw Devorak back in the portable battery bay. We're going to move our secondary boarding party into shields. And right before the merchant shield regenerates, we're going to be able to take out the shields and do a big damage blow on the mind control and the drone control. So that's going to start burning, and eventually that's going to take out the, what's it called? Defense drone Mark III. And as you notice there in the portable battery bay, the breach is gone even before the drone was killed. And that's because Steven is a pacifist crewmate and is going to prioritize repairs over fighting enemy crew. That's a big deal when you need to deal with a fight and repairs at the same time. That's one of the good reasons he's actually a pretty strong crewmate, if you're not going for the alternate one in your playthrough. So we're starting to see damage actually accumulate in the weapons bay, but not the shielding, just because Tyrdio prevents you from sabotaging while its ability is active, which is going to go for a little bit longer. Once that gets back online, we're going to see the shields pop back up in an instant, as you can see right now. We're actually moving Devorak back to the weapons bay to power that on a little bit further, because our portable battery isn't as reliable thanks to hacking. And we're actually going to see the ether shields go down very quickly this time as well. Not just because of the defense drone going down, but because of our payload bomb artillery, which has actually been able to take out the ether shields again. And now that we're down to 1 crew, we can actually start doing a lockdown cycling. Start doing lockdown cycling, and from that, keep Sylvan occupied trying to get into the crystal room. So once that starts to fade, we'll be able to activate another crystal crewmate, lock down the room again. And all the while that's going on, we're going to be able to keep sabotaging the shielding and keep wailing on it with our ion weapon. So that's just about out, and the next time that our beam hits it, there's a good chance that the fight just ends. And we're not going to have time to get our second boarding crew off the ship before the merchant shield comes back, but I think we're almost a little bit... We actually dealt a lot of system damage thanks to the flames spreading on it. So there's a real chance that our crew on the ship just died because of the artillery going through again. But luckily they got saved by the bell. They're actually going to be able to ignore it thanks to the artillery taking out the ether shields. And now that the weapons are gone, we teleport the rest of the crew back, do one last beam, and there! Sylvan is gone. One jump. Cool beans.
I have a soft spot for my crewmates in games like FTL. I make a real effort not to see them die, and for better or worse, I don't really like trading them up when I get offered better or even unique crewmates. I kind of treat them like characters in games like Fire Emblem, where you're expected to get a feel for their combat capabilities and their personality. I think unique crewmates elevate that way of thinking in Multiverse, and the fact that they mostly have interesting passive and active abilities sells you on their personality. Gary didn't need to have halved attacking stats to make him interesting, but it gives you the idea that he'd choose a lot of things before fighting to the death. Same goes for Slocknog. He might have sent millions to die in his name, but he knows how to be a team player. I don't know if that was the conclusion I should have drawn. Thanks for watching. This was originally going to be another all-unique crew and where to find them video, but I've made 2 comprehensive crew videos in this series already, and those almost drove me insane between gathering footage and editing, so this was a bit more interesting. The next video in this series will cover the Nexus, although I don't know if it will need to be in multiple parts. Until then, stay classy.